So our first category today is solving logarithmic equations quadratic. So let's click on that. And then, of course, if you like to work on your own, there's a watch help video and there's a show example, but I'm going to go through a few examples like together. So we have log base x plus 3 of 2x squared plus 14 equals 2. So let's rewrite this in exponential form. So I have the base over here, it's x plus 3, so x plus 3, and then it's raised to the power of 2, so x plus 3 squared equals this value, so 2x squared plus 14. Okay, so here we have x plus 3 squared equals 2x squared plus 14. All we did was rewrite the logarithm in the exponential form. Okay, so now that we've written it in exponential form, we need to expand this piece, the one that I just underlined. So this is x plus 3 squared, which is really just x plus 3, x plus 3. And then it's still equal to 2x squared plus 14. So I haven't really changed that much. I just expanded it out as x plus 3, x plus 3. Okay, and so now that it's expanded out, we can easily see that, what our first, outer, inner, last is, because remember, we are going to FOIL. So that's not what I meant to do. Okay, FOIL, FOIL is going to help us multiply these out, and that's why I expanded it so we could see it better. So for the F in FOIL, that stands for first. We're going to multiply x and x. That's going to give us, where should I write it? I'll write it here. It's going to give us x squared. That's the F in FOIL. Then we're going to do the O in FOIL. So the O in FOIL stands for outer. So that would be those two. So x times 3 and then the I in FOIL stands for inner. So this one stands for inner. The inner two are these. So 3 times x. And then last but not least, the L in FOIL stands for last. So it's the 3 times 3, which gives us a 9. So before I go on, are there any questions up until here? I'll give you guys 15 seconds to say something if you have a question. Five more seconds. Okay. Oh, I didn't even pause recording. All right, well, here we go. So from here, I'm gonna erase the word FOIL because I want more space, and that's some space over there. So we're gonna solve this by pretty much just doing the X factor method. So we have 0 is equal to x squared minus 6x plus 5. Remember, the 5 can go on the top. You want numbers that multiply to 5. And then the negative 6 goes on the bottom. You want numbers that add to negative 6. And so if you think about what numbers can multiply to positive 5 and add to negative 6, you can hopefully get negative 1 and negative 5, because two negatives will multiply to positive 5. And those two negatives will add to negative 6. And so what do you do with the negative 1 and then negative 5? Remember that I'm going to rewrite it over here where I have my FOIL. X minus 1 and then x minus 5. So that's what you do with the negative 1 and the negative 5. And so from here, you can solve for the x values by setting each factor equal to 0. So over here, you can get x minus 1 equals 0. And then for this one, you can have x minus 5 equals 0. So then you add 1, add 1. Oops. Okay, there we go. Those cancel out. You get x is equal to 1. And then over here, you add 5, cancels out. X is equal to 5. So your two answers are going to be 1 and 5. And then notice that that 1 and 5 is exactly just the opposite numbers of these. So if you get -1 and -5 in your x factor, you can actually skip, showing all the work for this, because you'll know that your answers are just going to be the opposite symbols. So if this was a -1, then one of your answers is going to be +1. If your other answer was -5, you can skip all this extra work and know that your answer will be +5. I just show the work here so that you can see the reasoning behind it all. So in conclusion, our answers are 1 and 5. Are there any questions for this problem? Okay, so submitting answers, I'm going to type 1, and then remember that to get another answer box, you want to press this plus sign over here. So then 5. So now I have 2 boxes. In one of the boxes I put 1, in the other box I put 5, and now I shall submit answer. Okay, now let me clear screen. Actually, let me go to the next problem first. Okay, now I'm going to clear screen. Okay, so for this problem, it's very similar. Actually, all of these are very similar because it's all going to be quadratic. So you're going to pretty much be raising everything to the power of 2 and then bring everything to one side, do your x factor method, get your answers. But let's do this example as well. Okay, so we have a base of -2x minus 4. I'm going to write that higher this time. Raised to the power of 2 equals the value of 2x squared minus 14. There we go. So base to the power of the exponent equals the value. The base we got here, the exponent we got here, and the values right here. Okay, so once we do that, we can expand this piece. So we have -2x minus 4 squared. So I'm just going to write it again. Okay, so I just expanded it out. And then once it's expanded out, it can be easily or more easily seen how we want to FOIL this. So the F in FOIL stands for first. So I'm going to multiply the first values. So -2x times -2x gives us +4x squared. That is the F in FOIL because it stands for first. The O in FOIL stands for outer, so that's going to be those two. So the -2x and the -4, that gives us a total of +8x when you multiply it together, and that will be the O in FOIL. The I in FOIL stands for inner, so that would be those two multiplied together. So -4 times -2x again is +8x. Remember, a negative times a negative gives us a positive. So then let me check off the I for inner, and then the L for last. So -4 times -4 is 16. And so that is our L for last. And then we have is equal to 2x squared minus 14. Okay, so all we did here was rewrite the log and exponential. That was our first step. Then expand and then FOIL. Once we're done with this part, we just want to bring everything to one side. So I'm going to just subtract 2x squared on both sides. And then I'm going to add 14 to both sides. That way, this can cancel, that can cancel. It will be equal to 0. Then on the left side, we have 4x squared minus 2x squared is going to give us 2x squared. Oh, and then the +8x and the +8x, that can be rewritten as +16x. And then 16 plus 14 gives us 30. Are there any questions up till here? So we have 2x squared plus 16x plus 30 equals 0. The 2 in the front, we could do the x factor from here, but another way that we can simplify this a little bit further is, since there's a 2 here, we can divide everything by 2. All of these are even numbers, so if you divide everything by 2, we can just have it be regular x squared, which makes it actually a little bit easier. So I'm going to do that. Let me go back to drawing. So let's divide everything by 2. So once you divide everything by 2, 2x squared divided by 2 is x squared. And then 16x divided by 2 is 8x. And then 30 divided by 2 is 15. And also 0 divided by 2 is still 0. So notice that we're still solving the same equation. It's just half of it, which makes it a little bit easier because instead of a 2x squared, we have an x squared. And that makes the x factor method a bit easier for us. Okay, so remember to take that 15, put it on top. You want numbers that multiply to 15. Take the 8x and put it on the bottom. Well, take the 8 from the 8x, put that on the bottom, and you want your numbers to add. Oh my goodness, add 8. That would be 3 and 5. So 3 and 5 will add to positive 8, and they will multiply to positive 15. So from here, from your x factor thing, we could rewrite this as x plus 3, x plus 5 equals 0, and then we could solve for x's and you would get negative 3 and negative 5. However, remember the shortcut that I just pointed out in the last video is that you could just take a look at these and say, oh yeah, the answer is just going to be the opposite of those. So I'm going to write x equals, instead of a 3, I'm going to write negative 3. And then instead of a 5, I'm going to write negative 5. So here are your two answers, negative 3 and negative 5. Are there any questions? Enter in our answers. Okay, so now let's do one more example from this category, starting off with rewriting it as exponential. So here is our base raised to the power of 2, our exponent, and then equals the value of 6x minus 14. Okay, so let's expand the x minus 1 squared. So I'm going to write it as x minus 1 equals 6x minus 14. And then once you've expanded it, it can be easily FOILed. And then the F in FOIL stands for first. So that's the x times x, which gives us x squared. So that was our first, F for first. The O in FOIL stands for outer. So we're going to multiply those two, x times negative 1. So that's minus x. When you multiply it together, that's the O in FOIL. The I in FOIL is going to be inner. So that's negative 1 times the x again. And that will be negative x. That's the I in FOIL. And the L in FOIL stands for last. So negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. So that's the L in FOIL. So we have x squared minus x plus 1, and then that equals 6x minus 14. Okay, and then let's simplify this a little bit. X squared minus 2x plus 1 equals 6x minus 14. Let's bring everything to one side. So, I shouldn't have written it so much to the left, but that's okay. I'm going to subtract 6x and add 14 to both sides. So subtract 6x and add 14. And we do that so that the 6x's can cancel and the 14's can cancel and will be equal to 0 on the right side. On the left side, the x squared just goes down. I'm just going to write it here. The x squared still stays as x squared. Then we have minus 2x minus 6x. So that gives us a total of minus 8x. And then we have 14 and 1, that's going to be 15. Oh, very similar numbers to our last problem. So we have x squared minus 8x plus 15 equals 0. And just double check the coefficient in front of x squared is 1. Yes, it's a 1x squared. If it was like a 2x squared or something like that, we could just, divide everything by the 2. If it was a 3x squared, you could just divide everything by a 3. But here we just have x squared. And so, just regular x squared. Let's do our x factoring method. 15 goes on top. You want numbers that multiply to 15. The negative 8 goes on the bottom. You want numbers that add to negative 8. So what two numbers will do that? It's negative 3 and negative 5. Negative times the negative will give us a positive. so the positive 15. And then when you add those two negative numbers, it gives us negative 8 on the bottom. So I could write this as x minus 3x minus 5 equals 0. However, remember our shortcut. This is a minus 3, this is a minus 5. Just take the opposite signs. So x is going to be equal to positive 3 and positive 5, literally just the opposites. So here are our final answers. And before I do anything else and submit them, are there any questions? Okay, so 3 and 5, submit. Okay, and then let's go to the next video.